Hello, you guys. Welcome. For those of you who do not know me, I am Carmen. I am a myofunctional therapist. And today, with any luck, I am going to be joined by a former client of mine. So I asked her to join me here today because she was an example of somebody whose journey was not linear at all. She came to me, wanted to do myofunctional therapy, and then we had lots of hiccups. So I'm going to keep watching for her to join here. This is her first Instagram live. So if we have any problems, you guys, I'm going to bail, I'm going to help her, and then I will come back. So if I decide we're going to try this again, we will. A couple things. I'm live. We have a new fur baby in our family who likes to bark at every sound that scares him. So I will apologize in advance. And then also, I am going to try and see if I can get a screen recording going here so that I can have questions. I don't answer questions while I am live because it's distracting, and Cara and I are going to just have a conversation about her journey. So if you have questions, we're going to see them on a screen recording and I will answer them. If you do not get it answered, then please email me at thetonguetrainer@gmail.com and I will get that answered. So I see that she's in the room, Miss Cara. If you can hear me, you're going to want to try and join. Let's see here. Let me see if I can. Hang tight, guys. Oh, she's joined it. Yeah.
Hi. Hi, Carmen.
Hello. Okay. Cara, you can hear me, you can see me.
I can hear you. I can see you. Am I
Okay.
coming through okay?
Yes, beautiful.
Awesome.
Okay, so I was just explaining to everybody, why I had asked you to be here and do this. And I just kind of started to, let me make an adjustment here. I had just kind of started to talk about that your journey was not linear. So I think, like I was telling you, I have had so many clients recently who they're identified as having tongue restrictions. So they have a tongue tie. They need to have it released. They're going to have a consultation on having it released. They're told that they don't have enough space. We have to have somewhere to put the tongue. For you, those of you guys who don't know that, we have to put the tongue somewhere. We can't just smush it up. And so a lot of these people are being told, hey, we have to do some sort of expansion, which essentially means making more space in the mouth. And you were one of those people. So just in a nutshell, just to save time, just because we're kind of on a time crunch, your journey started with you just wanted to get your tongue tie released, correct? I see she's frozen. Okay, guys. So I think she's probably going to move to a little bit of a different location. Cara, if you can hear that, you're frozen on my end. So I'm just going to tell you guys about her journey. So she just wanted to have her tongue tie taken care of, which that makes it sound very simplistic. We started therapy well ahead of when she was supposed to. She went out to LA to see Dr. Zaghi, who is, we call him the godfather of tongue ties, really. So she went out to see him. He told her, no, that she did not have enough space. In fact, she was really in the lower percentile for having space, and that she needed to go through maxillary expansion. So that wasn't exactly what Cara wanted to do. So she wanted to get another opinion, and she was really just quite kind of hoping that she was going to find somebody who would just do it, because she didn't want to take any other route. So she went to my provider in Colorado, Dr. Bieneman, which you guys have heard me talk about ad nauseum. And I kind of suspected that the same outcome would be happening, is that she would not be able to have the release done because of space. So Dr. Bieneman told her no, she didn't have enough space. So that's kind of where she ended up, is being told that she needed to have expansion. She was really against it. And if I can get her to be able to join us live here again, we're going to talk about, there you are, my friend.
Sorry, guys. I was in my booth and
That's okay.
Wi-Fi
Okay,
was
so
kicking
Cara,
off,
what I
so.
was just telling
I'm
you,
back.
when we launched you, I just started talking about your journey, how you came to me, you wanted to have your tongue tie taken care of. I sent you to Dr. Zoggy. He told you not enough space, that you were in the lower percentile. And then you didn't want to do what he wanted you to do. So you were looking for somebody else who would just kind of patch it. Just do it. Just go ahead and do the release. And then you went to Dr. B, our beloved Dr. B, and he told you, no, not enough space. So I was just telling them that you were told that you needed expansion. So tell us, so I gave my version. My version is definitely not full of the emotion and the frustration and the letdown that you experienced. So will you share with my community how that was feeling? Why you were so against that expansion, getting that more space?
It's been a really long journey for me. And if I think back, probably decades. And I didn't really realize at the time that I was one of your more extreme cases. And as you and I started to sort of put the pieces together, I sort of realized what a bad way I was in. I've had the tiniest mouth since birth, and my parents took me to an orthodontist when I was 9. And by then my teeth were already a mess. There was massive crowding. I was a mouth breather. And back in the 80s, it was just what was done that they pulled permanent teeth. So I had all 4 permanent premolars pulled to make room for braces, which is what they told everybody at the time. And by the time I was 13 and I was out of braces, I had a beautiful smile. But things just, as we know now, things just started collapsing backwards. I was having more problems with mouth breathing, TMJ, teeth grinding, that kind of thing. I think it was never suggested to me before I met you, because you were the one who put me in touch with Dr. Zoggy and Dr. Bieneman. It was never suggested to me that what really needed to be done was to put those 4 teeth back. And when I heard that, I just kind of went, wow, like I can't even begin to fathom, because, my orthodontist said, this is what you do. And, we're going to straighten those teeth and it's going to be great. It just seemed so big. And it was going to interrupt work too. I'm also a voice actor. And that means, time away from work, time away from the booth, that kind of thing, which I was really scared about. But by the time I came to you, I was just desperate. I couldn't breathe. I got this tiny nose, this tiny little mouth, and these big cheeks that I never really grew into. You can still tell I'm going to be 50 this year, and you can still tell. By the time I found you, I was just desperate. I couldn't sleep. I was waking up probably every 90 minutes after a REM cycle, sometimes choking. I'd had 2 sleep apnea tests that were both negative, but you and I figured out that what might be going on is that I'm actually not getting to that stage of deep sleep where you would actually stop breathing. Like I might not even be getting there. So by the time I came to you, I was just, I don't know. I think I was just so desperate to sleep better and to feel better that I was, as long as I could trust who I was working with, I was gonna do
which
whatever
is
they told
why
me.
after you got the bad news from Dr. Zoggy, which, you guys, it's not the bad news, it's the right news, right? Now you can appreciate that it is the right news. But after you got that, then
Do you want me to tell everybody how bad that was? Like exactly? Okay, so Dr. Zoggy, I think there's this thing called your intermolar width, which is the space between your teeth on the top of your soft palate. And it's measured in millimeters, I think. And Dr. Zoggy said, well, as long as you're between, say, 30 and 33 millimeters up here, you could probably do the tongue tie or the expansion first. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be close. Like, you were right. I was in such denial. I'm like, I'm going to be close. This is going to be no problem. This is the magic bullet. My intermolar width is 25 millimeters. It was not even close. That's how small my mouth, yes, that's how small my mouth is. And Dr. Bieneman actually told me, who's the specialist here locally that I'm working with in Colorado, that my mouth is like in the smallest 10th percentile of all the adults that he sees.
And so
it's that bad.
Just for those watching, because not everybody is Dr. Bieneman, not everybody is Dr. Zoggy. There's a provider in every single town that all of you guys live in that you could get to release your tongue. Number one, they're not going to do a good job, and it's probably not going to be correct. It's going to be like a paper cut or a canker sore. So you could find somebody to do it. But the problem is, if you release a tongue with nowhere to go, it becomes like a wad of Big League Chew bubble gum in your throat at night. So
that is such a great way to describe it. I think Dr. Bean told me that my tongue would fall backwards and it would send me straight into sleep apnea.
So it's the right thing. It's never the popular opinion, because it's obviously the other thing that starts going through your mind is your wallet is like bleeding there on the counter when you're going like, oh my God, all of this stuff. But let me tell you that sleep apnea is the most expensive chronic degenerative disease there is, in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And the problem is that 80 to 90% of it is undiagnosed. So people don't get this information. They aren't like you, Cara. They don't go seek the right people to tell them what they don't want to hear. So on that note, so you went to talk to Dr. Bieneman because you were hoping he was going to just tell you what you wanted to hear, that there would be enough room.
Yes.
And like I told you, it wasn't necessarily that I was withholding anything from you. I thought that maybe the outcome might be the same. But providers are now getting more and more educated. They're the expert. They're going to be the one that gets in there and checks everything out. But with that width of 25, no. So you got shot down again. What did Dr. Bieneman tell you that you needed to do to fix this stuff long term?
Well, the great thing about this is, depending on your lifestyle and what fits with you, there's actually a few different avenues that you can take. The options that he gave me were double jaw surgery, which I really scared me, and I definitely didn't want to do. And I think at my age, I'm not sure insurance covers that anyway, so it was kind of a non-starter. The second one is he could have done an MSE.
Skeletal
I'm not
expansion.
sure, maxillary something. Yep. There you go. Oh, thank you. Which is, I believe that's surgically implanted up here, and it just, is that a screw, or is it just, it just expands here?
There's a couple different ways that they do it. Yeah.
Okay. So the MSC was definitely an option, but it is surgically implanted, and that would have affected my speech. And I do voiceover as my day job. So I said, is there anything that we could do that's removable? And he said, yeah, absolutely. My palate expanders are down in my booth, but he said, we can give you removable palate expanders with screws. You would turn the screws, as often as you think your jaw is molding around them and getting comfortable. And it will separate the teeth, give your tongue more space. It's not, the way I understand it, it's not quite as good as an MSE. The MSE surgical implant actually splits the bone suture in the upper part of your palate, which is preferable. I think the appliances that I have are just kind of moving teeth. But for me it was, I think it's going to be enough, because my teeth not only were crowded, but they also, they kind of turn inward on the top and on the bottom. So I noticed almost immediately as my teeth started to kind of shift, as to straight up and down, that my tongue had more space, which was wonderful.
So the different expansions that you're talking about is, so there's a dental alveolar one that moves the teeth in the bone. And then there's the skeletal expansion, which moves the bone. So so you went with an option that was going to be doable for you. But the important thing is that you went with the option. So what I would like to do with the last 15 minutes that we have, let's talk about your myofunctional therapy journey. So when you and I started,
Yeah.
the full focus was on the tongue tie, the rehabilitation after that. And I remember, and this is
Mhm.
part of the reason that I really wanted you to do this with me, is because you were one of the the most excited clients that every time we got on screen, it gives me goosebumps. Every time you and I got on screen, you were just like, Carmen, you don't believe what this is what the changes this is making. This, for some people, this is like voodoo, it's like the woo woo stuff. It's just magical. I use the words life changing and transformational, and I don't use those lightly. I'm
Mhm.
not selling somebody a used Subaru. It's life changing. So you and I did a lot of your therapy before you got your appliance. So you and I were done in February of this year. You got your appliance in November. So we had to work around um, what was going on. We had to work around you getting your appliances. You're not done with therapy. You're kind of treading water now until you get closer to having your release, which could be a few years from now. So I've definitely
Yeah.
left you with the skills to be able to continue on. But share with my community, if you will, what kind of things you started noticing just with your myofunctional therapy alone.
Oh gosh. I because I had such an extreme case and because my mouth was so small from the beginning and the four extractions made everything just so small and so collapsed. I mean, there was
Mm-hmm.
no place to go but up. Um, the first thing I noticed was that my tongue position was completely wrong. I didn't have any space for it up top, so it was down
Mm-hmm.
here all the time. Even if my mouth was closed and I was breathing from my nose, my tongue was down. And I think that's one of the first things that you and I talked about was tongue position. And I was thinking about you today because even with these huge hunks of plastic in my mouth, these appliances, my tongue just pops right up there, right up against plastic, and I remember we took a little bit of a step backwards when I got those appliances, and
Mm-hmm.
I was really frustrated because I couldn't. There's just
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find the spot. Um, but that was one of the first things that I discovered: proper tongue position. Um, Trying to think what else. Oh, closing the mouth and nasal breathing. I was really, that was probably the biggest surprise for me in therapy with you. And that was actually pretty definitive. Nose breathing happened for
Mm-hmm.
me well before I got my appliances. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, at first it was definitely a matter of will. Like I would be sitting at my desk working and editing and just Cara, close your mouth. Okay, tongue up, breathing from the nose. And it was really just I would have to force myself to remember because it was so foreign to me. And I was pretty pessimistic because I've got this tiny little nose and everything is collapsed. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this, especially at night. I think, how long did
Mm-hmm.
it take? Maybe 3 or 4 months before I was
Mm-hmm.
truly nose breathing at night. But I was actually pretty surprised at how fast that happened. And with an extreme case like me, I think most of your potential clients will be able to do that on their own, even without
If
help,
they do
even if
the
they do end
work.
up needing
That
help.
was the difference, is you were
Right,
a
right.
five-star
Yeah.
client. If I said jump, you said how high. So
Oh,
so that's
thank
the key
you.
word, is I didn't do this work for you. I led you, but you did the work. You were focused. You you did above and beyond. You got to be a type A personality like me.
I am. I definitely am. But I'm not going to lie. Part of the reason I was so motivated was because I'm going to get that tongue tie and
Hmm.
it's going to be the magic solution and the sky is going to open up and everything's going to be great and I'm not going to have to do anything else. And it didn't end up that way for me. But there were so many improvements
Hmm.
even before November. So, tongue position, nose
Sleep.
breathing for sure. Um, Sleep. Yes, and that
Nose
definitely
breathing. What
tied
about
in with
digestion?
the
Didn't
nose
you say that
breathing.
you had acid reflux problems, which a lot of people do?
I was, yeah, you actually discovered my reverse swallow. I wasn't really, chewing and swallowing wasn't really on my radar with this. I just wanted to fix the breathing and the sleep. Um, and just a heads up for your community, if you're thinking about myofunctional therapy, Carmen, she is comprehensive. You're going to have to send her pictures. You'll send a video of you drinking a glass of water and chewing a cracker so that she can see like all the mechanics. It is super thorough and super comprehensive. And you diagnosed my reverse swallow. And I started to kind of put two and two together and think, okay, maybe, and I, of course, type A, I'm rushing through my meals to get through the next thing. I'm chewing, swallowing, I'm not even thinking about it. The chewing and swallowing thing almost completely got rid of my acid reflux. Like it's a non-factor anymore. I'm so excited about that because it was bad.
I have to, oh, sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you. I have to tell you this though, because everybody else needs to hear this also. Your tongue thrust, your reverse swallow, your immature swallow, your forward swallow, your just not doing it right swallow, 100% of the time, and anybody with a tongue tie, they don't have it, or they do have it. They don't know how to swallow correctly because the tongue has never worked correctly. So people will argue with me all the time, like my tongue is fine, I swallow fine, and I'm like, I would bet my child on that. But I knew it was there. So it wasn't that I necessarily had to identify it because you were a mouth breather. You had a low resting tongue. So a tongue thrust is not a problem. It's a symptom of a bigger problem, which is an oral rest posture problem. Because I always get that question, or I get those referrals. Hey, we got to fix this. We have to fix this. They just want me to fix the swallowing mechanics. And you know this. You know how much work we did prior to getting to that point of swallowing. Yeah,
Absolutely. And what was, like we said before, one of the frustrating things for me was when I got that appliance up top, all of a sudden I had to rethink kind of where my tongue was supposed to rest because there was plastic in the way. And I remember we had one appointment where I swallowed for you on camera and you went, what the heck was that? And I went, oh no, just because I was using both appliances at that point, and I kind of didn't know which end was up. And you said, okay, go back to the drawing board. You're going to have to kind of relearn where the spot is with this piece of plastic in your mouth and practice swallowing with that. And I think it probably took me maybe a month and a half to get back on track.
That's the important thing, and I probably explained this to you. And because I work with such complex cases, most of my clients are involved with a tongue tie, airway, tons and tons of sleep apnea. It's so important. And this was part, because people are probably saying, wait, Cara worked with you for a year and now she's going to come back with you and work with you later on. But it's important, you guys. Muscle pulls on bone. So Cara's going through stuff through work that's changing her bone. And that was why it was really important that her and I just push through and get finished, because I needed to arm her with the skills to continue working on that swallow. And I scared her with like an iron fist of, you have to do this and you have to work on this every bite, every swallow, every meal, every day, because you need to correctly work, learn how to swallow with the structure you have, using the tongue to swallow, not the face, not the pursed lip. We don't want that. So that's why it's so important. You guys are probably thinking that Cara's taken a vacation between February when I finished with her and the future when we have to do therapy again to prepare for that tongue tie release. But she is having to work on this like crazy because she's learning to swallow with something the size of a Volkswagen in her mouth, right? I'm not kidding. And then you have to, when that's out of there, that's the whole thing, is as soon as they're out of there, or you probably notice this when you go to dinner with your sweetie or something like that, and you're swallowing without them in there, that it's not, it's totally different. So that's the whole point, you guys. She's working every day on this because she's having to get that swallow down with the structure she has so that she can keep the new structure that she's going to get. Does that make sense? Did I ever tell you that, Cara? Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so with the last few minutes, what have you noticed after you started wearing your appliances? So I know you started wearing them in November. There was some setbacks and you were just so frustrated, but your willingness to deal with the issue outweighed the frustration. I have some clients who are in the same boat as you. They've spent a fortune on these appliances and they just say, oh, they're uncomfortable or something's not right. So they're sitting on a shelf, and I have to tell them, like, hey, you have to be assertive. You've got to go back to this doctor and say, hey, this is not working with my CPAP, or this is not working. But that sitting on the shelf is not going to change your life. So be assertive, not aggressive. There's a difference. But you had some bumps, and you started noticing some changes. So tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely. I think I'm really glad that, and I'm so happy that you hooked me up with Dr. Bieneman, because he was honest. He said, I'm not going to lie to you. Appliances in adults kind of suck. They're harder than with kids. Kids are still kind of forming their bone, and kids respond faster to removable appliances. They respond faster to the turns of the screw. They can get out of them faster. They expand faster. They're just more malleable. This is going to be hard. And he wasn't wrong. It really does suck. It's slower going with me, particularly because I do have to take them out for hours at a time. If I have a client that wants a directed session or a live session, they've got to be out for 2 hours, and then I put them back in, and of course they're super tight, and then I got to spend the next day and a half being really, really good with them, or else I can't turn the screw, but I think I have to credit the improvements that we saw so early on with my breathing, with my sleep, with acid reflux. There's no way I'm going back to that. There's like not wearing these, like, it's not even an option. I can't go back to the way I was sleeping. I can't go back to the way I was chewing. And every meal gave me gas. And even when I was, a saint with no carbs and skipping that glass of wine or champagne and just really just being super good, it didn't matter, because I was probably swallowing a ton of air with every meal. So, there's no way I'm going back there.
Because I'm not worried about you. Some of my clients, I turn them loose and I say, okay, now there's not a life raft here anymore. I've been here for a year. There's not a life raft. I'm not worried about you, because I know that you were in this for the long haul. And I know that this journey is really scary for people, which is also why I wanted to do this, because so many people get told that they need to do this and they're like, absolutely not. It's a hard stop. Nope, I will suffer. I'll live the rest of my life like this. And the problem is once you come to your senses or realize that maybe you didn't have all the facts or all of that stuff, you can't get back those 10 or 20 years. And I think that you're making an investment in your health long term. People always complain, obviously, about the cost of this journey, but the cost of sleep apnea, the cost of Alzheimer's, that's what scares me. Because and so and me trying to get this across to parents, because like you were just saying, Dr. B said, this is so much easier in the kiddos. It absolutely is, because their face is still like silly putty. It's still moldable, but you come across, with this treatment plan and these numbers and these zeros and these dollar signs, and they're like, what? And so I've really had to start coming across to parents like, how about we not worry about paying for Johnny's college, because he might not get there. He might have anxiety and depression, and he may not perform in college because he doesn't sleep. So how about you use that money and let's fix him now. Let's give him a foundation of health, and then let him worry about that kind of stuff. So I think people like Dr. Bieneman or Dr. Z, or even just people like you who share their journey and aren't afraid to come on Instagram with me and say like, hey, this is what happened. So I appreciate you for doing this. You got your first Instagram live.
I absolutely, and I'm so grateful for you. And I do want to add one more thing as kind of a piggyback onto what you were saying. I promise you, if you spend the money to do it while your kiddo is young, it's not going to be nearly the expense that I have to go through for braces a third time, to do 4 implants, to put those teeth back. I promise you, it's not going to be as bad as if you wait. So, and I definitely wanted to also add that my last appointment with you, do you remember what I said to you? I said, I feel like I'm losing my guardrail here. And you said, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here when you get your tongue tie release, whenever that happens. So it's,
yes, absolutely.
I definitely have a partner.
I don't fall off the face of the earth, even though I'm not going to Tahiti, and if I go, I'll let you know, right? All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for joining us here. If I get any questions from anybody that are directed personally to you, I will reach out to you.
Please do.
You're
Please do.
very
Thank you
welcome.
so much. And thank
Thank you
you for
so
all
much.
your
I
help,
appreciate
Carmen.
you.
You are,
Okay, bye,
I
friend.
appreciate you too. Bye.
All right, now if I could just figure out how to end this, we'll be good. Let's see. Maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna just hope that takes it live. Nope.